Yo, yo, it's Jack from WhatCulture.com, and you don't find me in the best of spirits, actually. I'm a little bit ill, and my housemate thought it would be a good idea to wake me up at 2:30 a.m. last night to come and say hi, because she was drunk, and on a Sunday, really? F***'s sake. But all that aside, at least I am energised because we just saw a very, very exciting UK Championship tournament on the WWE Network. Really did a lot to put British wrestling on the map for a lot of casual fans, or maybe fans from elsewhere in the world who aren't too familiar with the UK wrestling scene. So let's dive in and look at all the ups and all the downs from a wonderful 2 nights of wrestling action. Wrestling. I'm going to start things off by giving WWE an up for the production of this event. The venue was amazing, the belt looked fantastic. It was one of my favourite belts immediately in WWE. It's a very, very nice belt if you haven't seen it. Well, I'll put it up there. What more can I say? Well, Michael Cole was on top of his game. He was actually really good. Nigel McGuinness, you could tell, lacked a little bit of experience in that sort of commentary role for WWE, but he was largely good, talking about his own experiences in the ring, adding colour. But then sometimes Michael Cole would cut him off. Like at one point, Pete Dunne was going mental, and Nigel went, "You know, at school when there's always a bully," and then Cole cut him off. So it just sounded like he was reminiscing about his school day. But largely, the whole thing looked good. It felt important, which is really good as well. So that's definitely enough. Now, unfortunately, I'm going to have to give the first round of matches a down because it was just kind of predictable if you know anything about the UK indie wrestling scene. There weren't any big shocks. There weren't any real matchups where you could say, I genuinely don't know who's going to win. Like in the Cruiserweight Classic, we had Gargano versus Ciampa in the first round, and that was a genuinely fresh, exciting matchup. You had no idea who was going to win. This time around, the brackets kind of filled in a lot of the blanks for later on. I only got one pick wrong in the first round, and that's only because I was taken in by Saxon Huxley's Muscle Cat nickname. I thought there's no way a guy called the Muscle Cat's going to go out in the first round, and then he f***ing did. But unfortunately, because it was a little bit predictable, the first round gets a down. Now it's time to look at the actual action of the first round, and again, I'm going to have to give this a down, I'm afraid, because in the first round, to be honest, on Saturday night, I was a little bit underwhelmed by the end of the show, and I was a little bit worried for what the next day would be like. Fortunately, as we'll see, it was way more impressive, but those first round of matches felt kind of like almost like an episode of maybe even Superstars. The guys were working kind of basic stuff, especially if you're familiar with the kind of stuff they can usually do when they're really, really good. They've clearly been instructed to rein it back a lot. There was a lot of mixtures of experience levels in there. Some of the guys you could tell were a little bit less experienced than others. It wasn't the most captivating night of wrestling on Saturday night, and it does get it down. But I should have just gone straight into the next thing. It doesn't matter. The final match of Saturday night, Tucker versus Tyler Bate, was by a clear margin the best match of the first night. It was a great match. I didn't personally know too much about Tucker beforehand. I'm now sold on him. I think he's a really good wrestler. Tyler, as we know, went on to be the star of the show, and this was a really good first match for him as well. It was 2 plucky guys going against each other, one more of a high flyer, one more of an old school technician, and they both complemented each other really well. They were a lot more versatile than I think a lot of people might have given them credit for going into this match. Easily match of night 1, and it was so good that I'm going to have to give it a special mention of its own, and it gets an up. Next up, as we move from night 1 into night 2, I'm going to give another separate up for the booking of Pete Dunne. He was a monster heel in this tournament, and the guy that everyone was rooting against by the end. Triple H made him look like a star, William Regal made him look like a star, and all that credit to all the guys that he beat as well, because they really sold for him and made him a big threat, and everyone was kind of outraged when he was going against the rules in such a traditional kind of tournament. Great work by Pete, great sort of facial expressions and stuff like that. It was the sort of heel push that involves a lot of different people, a lot of different components. So all the credit can't just go to him, but he absolutely made the most of it, and that's definitely enough. Now it's time to look at all the quarterfinals as a whole. They were 4 distinct, separate, yet all very good matches. Not only were they all good in the ring, they all helped establish the winner as a certain type of character going into the semis. So you had Mark Andrews as a very plucky underdog. You had Tyler Bate emerging as the rounds went on. You had Wolfgang as a bit of a dark horse. And you had Pete Dunne, obviously, as the big heel. And you could tell towards these later rounds that his sort of heelish antics were really getting over with the crowd, because they stopped doing their smarky this is Peter Chance and supporting the heel, and they started doing my favourite heckle in all of wrestling, which is just shouting his name, just shouting Peter at him in kind of an outraged tone. Like sometimes there'd be like complete silence, you just hear one guy in the background going like, Peter! Yes, more of that. Like this, the quarterfinals in general getting up as well. Daryl, Peter. Yeah, they're professional athletes, it rolls right off their back. Now I have to give a special mention to one of the semi-finals. Wolfgang versus Tyler Bate went kind of short and did what it had to do, but Pete Dunne versus Mark Andrews was my personal match of the tournament. Mark Andrews started busting out moves that I didn't even know he could do. He did that weird like moonsault, you know what I mean, like if you've seen it you'll know what I mean, the moonsault into like, it was kind of a, what was it? What would you describe, do you know what I mean?
A moonsault 450?
It was like a standing reverse 450 moonsault thing. It was amazing. There was loads of false finishes in this match. A couple of times I actually thought Pete was going to get eliminated after being certain that he was going to make the final at least. He was also my pick to win the whole thing. But eventually Dunne did triumph. But what a strong showing from Mark Andrews, man. And I was kind of worried about how he'd be in this tournament considering he was previously a TNA guy, but WWE weren't afraid to make him look like a star. And this match was, as I say, probably my favourite match of the whole tournament, so this definitely gets an up. Now, this one's going to cause a bit of controversy, but let me explain. This is a down, first of all. Neville versus Tommy End, and just let me explain, because Neville came out really over, as you'd imagine, in the UK, especially in the North. Everyone's loving him, and he cuts a heel promo, which gets cheered, because he's British and everyone loves him. And then Tommy End comes out as a surprise opponent, billed as Tommy End, not Aleister Black, as his NXT name is, which is a bit confusing. And this was a lose-lose situation for WWE because Neville needs to look strong, considering he's going on to challenge for the Cruiserweight Championship at the Royal Rumble. But Tommy End needed to look strong because it was his first debut in sort of a network special type of event. And unfortunately, one of them had to look a bit weak, and it was Tommy End, whose debut kind of fizzled out a bit. You could argue because he's a newcomer, he kind of has less to lose, but it was the sort of match where you didn't want to see either man lose, and one of them had to. So for that reason, I think they could have chosen a better surprise opponent for Neville, especially because I've been told today as well, apparently this was Tommy End's second match of the day. He wrestled earlier in Birmingham at Progress and faced Jimmy Havoc. So he wrestled a match with Jimmy Havoc, drove up to Blackpool, and then wrestled another match. And you could see he was tired. I thought he was just selling, but no. What an effort, and I'm really sorry for giving this a down, but it's just the booking. And finally, the final match of the tournament, Tyler Bate versus Pete Dunne. Of course this gets an up. This was brilliant. Simple, as Richard said before we came on camera. Simple storytelling, but sometimes if you do the simple things well, that's exactly how wrestling works. You know, it's Hogan Andre. It's an underdog babyface against a big dominating heel. Also a heel who's cheated his way to the final. And both guys played their roles to absolute perfection. The match itself was brilliant. That brainbuster, I think, was my favourite spot. All the 450. Tyler was busting out moves that I didn't know he could do either, like Mark Andrews did in the semi-finals. Pete Dunne was brilliant as well, probably the star of the whole tournament. I guess Tyler was as well. And Tyler fully deserved to win. And after everything was said and done and he had the belt and everything, Triple H then did tweet a picture of Pete Dunne and said, Pete Dunne, wow. So he put him over really strong as well. Those two guys have come out of this looking like they could just step into the main roster immediately. A few of the guys in the tournament looked really good as well. Obviously some of the guys in the first round were a bit forgettable, but by and large it was a wonderful tournament. The second night really improved upon the first night, and as you can see, the ups have won 6-3. So that concludes my ups and downs review of the UK Championship Tournament. I've been Jack from WhatCulture.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Jack_the_jobber. Richard shot this, but he's not editing it because Ross has just monopolised his time today. Best of luck.
And you.
That's all right, mate. And you, we'll see you soon.
I just take things step by step. I don't try to anticipate or move ahead of myself. It's not just for you, it's for the world to enjoy. They can see that, they can sense that, they can feel it. That's what made every time that we would go out there and wrestle special. At the end of the day, you go back and you look at that footage and you're like, wow, man, that's awesome. part of the cycle.